Breaking tonight, Donald Trump's midnight deadline expires and new punishing tariffs are now in effect. No deal after the talks went down to the wire. What CBC News has learned about what was on the table. 2 worshippers stabbed at a Sikh temple in Edmonton.
To have the sanctity of this space be violated has been extremely disturbing.
What we know about the suspect and the motive.
First we'd climb a tree.
The Tragically Hip's final concert a decade later.
I was there to support Gord and help Gord realize his last wish.
Band members open up about that emotional night in front of millions of fans and coping with the loss of Gord Downie.
You are ahead by a century.
From CBC News, this is The National with Susan Ormiston.
Thank you for joining us. We are tracking major breaking news tonight. The midnight deadline for punishing new U.S. tariffs on billions of Canadian goods has passed, and they will now go into effect. The intense negotiations to stop them have failed. The U.S. Trade Representative said, quote, Canada declined to finalize the trade deal, made new demands that upended earlier talks, and continued to maintain retaliation against the U.S., including boycotts. Now the Prime Minister says it's suspending trade negotiations and preparing retaliation, vowing to match tariffs dollar for dollar. We have complete coverage tonight. Kate McKenna in Washington and Ashley Burke for us in Ottawa. Also, Peter Armstrong in Toronto on what all this means. Let's begin in Washington with Kate McKenna. Kate, take us through how this deal fell apart tonight.
Well, it happened less than an hour before midnight. U.S. Trade Representative Jamieson Greer was the one to announce the news, saying in his view, the U.S. was offering Canada a great deal, and it was Canada that called things off. He said they were willing to offer some concessions to Canada, including on sectoral tariffs, and he defended the offer that was on the table. Take a listen to what he said.
Canada declined to finalize the trade deal under the terms agreed earlier this week. Despite the U.S. offer to Canada to receive the best treatment of any major exporter to our market, new demands and walkbacks of other commitments by Canada have upended the careful balance reached in the past days.
Because no deal was reached, the Trump administration is making good on its threat to add a new bucket of 50% tariffs. They take effect immediately on about $27 billion of Canadian exports, ranging from cement to hockey sticks, and set to hit Ontario, Quebec, and British Columbia hardest. The U.S. threatened those tariffs to try to pressure Canada to put U.S. booze back on their shelves and drop other retaliatory measures. But Greer says that Canada continues to plan to retaliate against the United States.
With all this, Kate, it does look now like things will or could escalate.
Yeah, these talks went right up to the deadline with Canadian negotiators spending most of today at the table. Both sides are blaming each other. Prime Minister Mark Carney said part of it came down to the U.S. making last-minute demands, but Canada does plan to hit back with dollar-for-dollar counter tariffs. A senior Trump administration official speaking on background said it's up to Canada if it chooses to retaliate, but escalation is a choice and that their sole interest remains protecting American jobs. At the outset of this intensification of talks, Carney said no deal is better than a bad deal, but Canadian negotiators are now set to leave Washington without a deal in hand.
All right, Kate McKenna, thanks for all your reporting tonight in Washington. Let's go to Ashley Burke now in Ottawa. Ashley, the Prime Minister's response was swift.
Yeah, Susan, the Prime Minister says that he is striking back since the U.S. is going ahead with these 50% tariffs on almost $28 billion of Canadian exports. Mark Carney says that he will match those tariffs dollar for dollar to hit the U.S. In a statement, the Prime Minister said that Canada has been trying to get at the table, has been trying to get American negotiators to lower Donald Trump's tariffs. They've been hitting some Canadian sectors hard, including aluminum, steel, auto, and lumber. Carney said in a statement that progress had been made during talks, but not enough. And as Kate mentioned, just as the U.S. is blaming the Canadian side, Carney is blaming the U.S. for talks breaking down. In a statement he wrote, I have decided to suspend trade negotiations with the U.S. and have directed Canada's negotiators to return to Ottawa. Last-minute changes in the U.S. proposed terms were unfair, uneconomic, and called into the question the reliability of any deal.
So, Ashley, Ottawa faced pressure not just in Washington, but also domestically. How did that play into this breakdown?
Yeah, the Prime Minister had promised that the government wouldn't accept a bad deal and was going to have to sell whatever he signed to Canadians at a time when polling shows there's still a lot of animosity towards the U.S. and not a lot of support for making concessions. Manitoba's premier spoke out, saying that he thought that Canada could push for a better deal. The Prime Minister had asked premiers to put American alcohol back on the shelves, to lock in, to secure an agreement. And Wab Kinew questioned if that would be giving up too much for a deal that accepts that Trump's tariffs are here to stay. Instead of speaking out, Ontario's Premier Doug Ford, he went silent in recent days. And since the Prime Minister briefed premiers on this possible deal, but he just broke that silence by posting on social media that Team Canada needs to stand together more united than ever before. The Prime Minister has my full support for a strong response, tariff for tariff, dollar for dollar. Now, BC's Premier also posted online that Canada will always defend itself and its politeness should never be mistaken for weakness. Carney says that in the coming days, the government will announce more support for industries hit by Trump's tariffs, and he'll also be facing questions about why the talks broke down and what happens next.
Yes, unclear where all this goes from here. Thank you tonight, Ashley Burke in Ottawa, rather. All right, senior business reporter Peter Armstrong, you've been on the phone taking notes. What struck me is that the U.S. got out first and said this was Canada's problem. We offered them something, they didn't take it, they're walking away, and the deal's done. Well, not a deal, but the breakdown.
And it's a significant breakdown. The tariffs that Ashley and Kate spoke about, 5% of Canadian exports, it'll shave off about 0.5 point of GDP. That's not the worst of it, though that's going to be bad. And it'll be very bad for the companies that are hit in it, much like the first tranche of tariffs. They won't hit evenly everywhere. Where they hit, though, they will hit very hard. And these were designed, these were purposely chosen to be the specific products that will have the most efficiency in leverage for the United States, pain for the Canadians, without causing too much damage in the United States. Tariffs, of course, will be paid by the American importer, whether that's a business or a household. But the tariffs themselves are only half of the problem. The fact that these talks have now broken off really deepens the uncertainty. It really calls into question what happens next. The senior White House official has said that there's no scheduled meetings. Carney has said he's called his people back. So how do we start to piece this back together? Wars of all kinds, shooting wars and trade wars are very easy to start. They're very hard to stop and to get back under control. The steps that need to be taken to get this back are now much further away. The counter tariffs that Mark Carney has vowed to go ahead with, a senior administration source has said if Canada retaliates, the president will be given options to level the playing field yet again. So we're into this cycle where Canada will retaliate, the Americans will retaliate to the retaliation, and that can even further erode a very bad situation. I reached out to a senior business leader in Canada tonight to say just how bad is this, and he had sent back one word: very.
Yeah, as you say, and I'm thinking about businesses who are under those tariffs now. As of now, they're facing those new 50% tariffs. What do they do in the coming days with their products?
So a lot of these companies leading up to the Tuesday deadline had already seen the demand for their products dry up. They had spent 2 weeks ago getting stuff out the door as quickly as they could, so it was at least in the United States to ship to customers. They spent the beginning of last week trying to finish that and move on to what are they going to do now. At a 50% tariff, a lot of these companies are simply priced out of the United States. We've seen them putting up notices on their website saying the prices are going to change because of the tariffs, some just removing American ability to order at all. This is going to be very difficult. There are businesses, to be totally honest, Susan, we've talked to businesses that say they won't survive if this was to go ahead. And now it has gone ahead. And it will get the cycle that this retribution for retribution threatens to take this into an even darker place. The uncertainty More than the tariffs, the uncertainty was the thing that's really weighed on the Canadian economy over the last 18 months. The uncertainty now is orders of magnitude bigger and more frightening and potentially more damaging.
Very briefly, the political calculus here, I mean, it also has ramped up now.
I think there will be books written about what has happened tonight. This is an enormously, monumentally important thing that has just happened that will have consequences for many, many years to come. What happened in that room is going to be the subject of a lot of people trying to figure out exactly what went wrong. There will be fingers pointed at who ramped up what and what side was responsible for this. We don't know. And until we know, I think it's better to keep our guessing to ourselves.
Exactly. Peter, thank you so much for everything. So the bottom line here is the tariffs are in place. The talks have broken down with no indication when or if those talks will resume, and that's where we are tonight. Turning to other news, Edmonton police are working to determine if a stabbing attack at a Sikh temple was hate-motivated. Police say the suspect is a violent repeat offender released from a federal facility just yesterday. Stephanie Cram explains how the early morning attack unfolded.
It was shortly after 5 a.m. when police say a man entered the Nanaksa Gurdwara in North Edmonton during morning prayers. They say he was armed with a screwdriver.
To have the sanctity of this space be violated in such a brutal and aggressive way has been extremely disturbing.
He attacked two men, worshippers, aged 75 and 51, before police say others intervened and held him back.
He ended up attacking several individuals, two of whom have been hospitalized with injuries.
Edmonton police say the 27-year-old man now in custody was released from a federal correctional facility just the day before. He was known to police.
It is concerning when violent repeat offenders are continually released into our community that cause further harm.
Now police are determining if the attack was motivated by hate.
The EPS Hate Crimes Unit has also been engaged and is working closely with the investigators.
Hate and racism and prejudice have no place in our city.
The attack comes at an alarming time for Sikhs in Canada.
The South Asian community in particular has been under siege for a long while now, at least for a couple of years. So it's not surprising that this has happened, but of course, it's very disturbing.
In Calgary, two temples increased their security this week after receiving threatening phone calls. Edmonton police are now looking at whether or not these incidents are related.
As the chief of the Edmonton Police Service, I see the heightened geopolitical tensions and increasing polarization around the world showing up locally. These realities can't be ignored, and we need to call them out when they happen. We cannot remain silent.
The Prime Minister posting on social media the attack is appalling and no one should ever feel unsafe in their place of worship.
Temple officials say the two men who were stabbed suffered non-life-threatening injuries. The suspect was also injured and taken to hospital.
Stephanie, what more do we know about security at this Gurdwara and at others across the country?
Typically, Gurdwaras have open-door policies. Today, we heard from the World Sikh Organization that they're urging Gurdwaras across the country to review their security policies. With the Gurdwara here in Edmonton, they're already up and running. This afternoon, they had a wedding.
All right, thank you, Stephanie. Stephanie Cram in Edmonton tonight. In northern BC, Transportation Safety Board investigators are trying to figure out what led a twin-engine plane to make an emergency landing on a busy highway. The plane crashed into vehicles, killing one person. But as John Hernandez tells us, others on that highway survived but are still in shock.
It was absolutely unbelievable. It's something you only see in the movies.
Jamie Pollock is still in shock. He was driving to work Thursday afternoon in Prince George when he saw an airplane on the road barreling towards him.
It was kind of sliding back and forth a little bit as the pilot was trying to keep it stable in the center of the lanes.
The twin-engine plane left a remote airstrip in northern BC and was heading for Prince George, carrying 6 passengers and 2 crew. The aircraft lost power to one of its engines, forcing the crew to make an emergency landing on a 4-lane highway. The plane crashed into 4 vehicles.
I tried to swerve as much as I could. I was only able to make it just a little ways before the wing just sheared the entire top of my vehicle off. showered me with glass.
Police confirm one of the drivers was killed. Remarkably, no one else died. 2 people were taken to the hospital in stable condition.
One of the things that you're trained to do is look for a place to land in the event of an emergency.
This former Transportation Safety Board investigator says pilots have to make split-second decisions in emergency situations, and sometimes there's no easy choice.
It could turn out much worse if they had tried to lift off to hop over a vehicle or two, because then you're risking stalling the airfoils and hitting the ground nose down.
The plane is owned by the company Sikh Air. It's still largely intact. TSB investigators are assessing the damage. Survivors waiting for answers after such a close call.
And that metal rod ended up going about 5 inches into my seat. My priority list right now is to just get myself feeling better, because that was a very, very scary ordeal and traumatic.
John Hernandez, CBC News, Vancouver.
A Russian strike on a shopping mall in central Ukraine has killed at least 15 people and injured 130 as long-range strikes take an ever greater toll on civilians. 2 drones hit the mall during daytime as people were shopping. These videos, verified by CBC News, showing the already smoldering mall struck again. A double tap, say Ukrainian officials. The Ukrainian president called it terrorism. We will certainly make them pay, Volodymyr Zelensky said. It comes just a day after officials say Russian drone and missile strikes in the Kyiv area hit civilian areas and killed at least 17 people. Russia's president has described recent Ukrainian attacks as terrorism as well. The weeks-long strike campaign on Russian e-commerce giant Wildberries has also killed people, but it's targeted warehouses rather than crowded malls. Kyiv arguing they're part of Russia's war effort. And that disrupting commerce also puts political pressure on the Kremlin to end the war. The United Nations has condemned both sides for hitting civilian targets. Manitoba is eyeing a potential year-round northern trade corridor. The Port of Churchill lies on the western shore of Hudson Bay. It's Canada's only railway-accessible deepwater Arctic port, and it is the shortest route from the Prairie provinces to European markets. As Karen Pauls explains, a new series of studies suggests that Churchill's 4-month shipping season could be extended.
The Port of Churchill, Canada's only deepwater Arctic seaport that's connected to the North American rail network. Now, new research shows it soon could be much more connected to the rest of the world.
Churchill could be a year-round port right now with current technology and using icebreakers and ships that are a lot cheaper, a lot more affordable than we previously thought.
Right now, the Port of Churchill's shipping season is about 4 months, but researchers say climate change means Hudson Bay is becoming ice-free longer. The studies found freighters with a reinforced steel hull and protected propellers could safely navigate the bay for longer periods. A more expensive option, an icebreaker like this one, could further extend the shipping season.
Let's be real here. Climate change is upon us, and let's be prepared for the next round, as we progress as a port.
But there's a delicate balance between the environment and economic development. Tourists come from around the world to see polar bears, beluga whales, and northern lights.
Tourism is obviously huge for us, but it can't be the only thing. And once upon a time, when the port was humming, they were able to do both.
This tour guide agrees.
Churchill needs the port booming again. There's a lot of people here that are unemployed, want to get back to work.
Still, this Métis sled dog guide has some cautionary words.
We want what's best for our province, but we also are stewards of the land as Indigenous people, and we have to really be careful that we're not moving too fast.
These studies are being released as Canada looks for new markets.
And as Manitoba prepares to pitch Churchill at an international investment summit in Toronto next month. Karen Pauls, CBC News, Winnipeg.
We are tracking breaking news tonight about those trade talks in Washington. They have broken down. Canadian negotiators will be going back to Ottawa at the Prime Minister's request. And in some parts of this country, it's already early Saturday morning, and those punishing trade tariffs threatened by U.S. President Donald Trump are in effect. 50% tariffs on billions of dollars worth of Canadian goods. Optimism earlier in the evening disappeared as we got closer to the midnight deadline, and now there is no plans to resume those talks. The negotiators have gone to their corners, if you will, and there are those tariffs in place. We have heard from several premiers already, Doug Ford, the Premier of BC, also the Premier of Alberta, saying that they are supporting the Prime Minister in the whole and the decision to fight back, but they are disappointed and want negotiations to carry on at some point. That's from some of those premiers. We have no plans for that. There will be a lot of political fallout and economic fallout in the days to come, and we'll have more news here on The National coming right up. Let's return now to that breaking news tonight. Trade talks between the U.S. and Canada have broken down, and punishing new 50% tariffs are in effect on billions of dollars of Canadian goods. Canada's Prime Minister issuing a strong statement tonight saying he is planning to retaliate, fighting the tariffs dollar for dollar. And just this hour, we heard from Ontario Premier Doug Ford, who has been quieter in the past few days, saying that he strongly supports that move. We have also heard from two other premiers, including British Columbia's premier, who says we will always stand with Canada. Our politeness should never be mistaken for weakness. We didn't ask for this. We'll keep fighting for it. And the Premier of Alberta saying she deeply disappoints that we were unable to reach a trade deal with the United States, but that the province is advocating for a strong tariff-free deal, and she will urge the Prime Minister of Canada to resume negotiations. That is the breaking news as of this hour. Fans of K-pop superstar BTS are descending on Toronto ahead of two highly anticipated concerts. The group is returning to live performances after their mandatory military service. Mercedes Gaztambide shows us the hype in the city.
An unveiling fit for the kings of K-pop. Smooth like butter, like a criminal undercover. Ahead of their first show back in Toronto in more than a decade, a stretch of Yonge Street temporarily renamed in honor of BTS.
When BTS announced Toronto as the stop, it was clear that it would be more than a concert weekend.
The globally popular boy band is known for hits like Dynamite and Butter, but until this world tour have been on hiatus since 2022, serving their mandatory military service. The band's dedicated fans are known as the BTS Army. Its Toronto founder, Seokvin Van, and her son Jordan have been organizing events across the city for the last few weeks. She says the anticipation has reached a fever pitch.
Everyone's crying, from young to old. They're just like, BTS is here.
BTS will play Rogers Stadium on Saturday and Sunday night, their only Canadian stop on the tour. But the crowds were out the morning before, snapping up t-shirts, records, and light sticks.
I was the first person in line. I was here at 10:20 at night.
Honestly, a dream to see them. I'm literally having goosebumps, and the concert is not even today.
Coinciding with the concerts is the city's Korean festival. Stalls with Korean food, clothing, a booth for BTS Army, and live K-pop performances will be going on all weekend, hoping to draw in the crowds.
So we have here a fan sign wall for folks to come in and sign the wall and leave their messages for BTS, but then also have their photo moment with each member here.
It's about as close as we're gonna get, I guess.
I guess so.
It's sort of like the booster of getting into Korean culture, getting into Korean music, and I think it's like a super celebration.
prime conditions for fans to make some dynamite memories. Mercedes Gastambide, CBC News, Toronto.
In the UK, a group of high-profile claimants are now ordered to pay millions after losing a privacy lawsuit, and among them, Prince Harry. Last month, the group, including Elton John and Elizabeth Hurley, failed to sue the Daily Mail's publisher over allegations of phone hacking. Now they must make an interim payment of 17.9 million Canadian towards legal costs, and the group could have to pay tens of millions of dollars more in additional costs. So tonight, we are tracking reaction to the breakdown of trade negotiations in Washington and those 50% new tariffs coming into effect as of tonight. Donald Trump has imposed them on Canada. Canada and the U.S. have each blamed the other for the breakdown of those talks. The U.S. saying they offered Canada a good deal, but it wouldn't agree, and Canada saying that the U.S. was asking for new concessions that were unfair and uneconomic. The Prime Minister saying that he will fight back, Canada will fight back with retaliatory tariffs, dollar for dollar, and we're hearing from some of Canada's premiers in reaction to that, including Ontario Premier Doug Ford, who had been quite quiet up until now in the last few days, saying that he fully agrees with the Prime Minister's move on this. We heard from Alberta's Premier, Danielle Smith, saying she's deeply disappointed that the two sides were not able to reach an agreement, a trade agreement, and that she will advocate for both a resumption of negotiations and also a tariff-free deal. BC Premier David Eby also saying tonight that British Columbians will stand with Canada. Our politeness should never be mistaken, he said, for weakness. We didn't ask for this, but we'll keep fighting for as long as it takes. We are now, though, in uncharted trade territory, as there is no plan at the moment for new negotiations, and there will be more tariffs taking place as the Prime Minister and the Cabinet decide what is their next move. That's breaking news this evening. The National will be back. Now back to our breaking story tonight, the last-minute breakdown in trade talks between the U.S. and Canada as new U.S. tariffs on billions worth of Canadian goods are in effect. Let's go to Ashley Burke now in Ottawa. Ashley, the Prime Minister's response was swift and comprehensive.
Yeah, Susan, the Prime Minister says that he is striking back. Since the U.S. is going ahead with 50% tariffs on $28 billion of Canadian exports, Mark Carney says that he will match those tariffs dollar for dollar to hit the U.S. In a statement, the Prime Minister said that Canada has been trying at the table to get American negotiators to lower Donald Trump's tariffs. They've been hitting some Canadian sectors hard, including aluminum, steel, autos, and lumber. Carney said in a statement that progress has been made during those talks, but not enough. Just as the U.S. is blaming the Canadian side, Carney is blaming the U.S. for talks breaking down. Carney wrote, "I have decided to suspend trade negotiations with the U.S. and have directed Canada's negotiators to return to Ottawa. Last-minute changes in the U.S. proposed terms were unfair, uneconomic, and called into question the reliability of any deal."
Ashley, Ottawa was facing pressure, not just in Washington over this entire week, but also here in Canada. How did that factor into what happened tonight?
Well, the Prime Minister promised that the government would not accept a bad deal, and he was going to have to sell whatever he signed to Canadians at a time when polling shows that there's still a lot of animosity towards the U.S. and not a lot of support for making concessions. Manitoba's Premier spoke out, saying that he thought Canada could push for a better deal, and he questioned if the Prime Minister's ask to premiers to put American alcohol back on the shelves to secure a deal was giving up too much for an agreement that accepts Trump's tariffs are here to stay. Now, Ontario's premier broke his silence tonight since he was asked by the Prime Minister to make that ask. And he posted online tonight, Team Canada needs to stand together, more united than ever before. The Prime Minister has my full support for a strong response, tariff for tariff, dollar for dollar. BC's Premier also posted online that Canada will always defend itself and its politeness should never be mistaken for weakness. And Alberta's Premier says that she is deeply disappointed a deal wasn't reached. She said that no one benefits from a trade war. Now, as for Carney, he says in the coming days that the government will announce more support for industries hit by Trump's tariffs. And he's going to be facing questions about why the talks broke down and what happens next.
You know, you've been watching this moment by moment for the last week, but things really shifted between 11 and midnight Eastern time, you know, very late. Are you getting any indication of what happened or what Canada's options are next other than retaliatory tariffs?
Yeah, you know, when my phone went silent from sources, that's when it seemed like around that time something was happening because we weren't hearing anything. And I do know that sources have told me throughout this week when we've been covering this story that it wasn't just retaliatory tariffs that they were potentially planning out as a way to respond, but they had a whole range, a whole series of options that they were looking at in terms of a response beyond that. So I think that's what we're going to be watching for in the coming days. What else does Canada do along with that support for industries hit to help chart out the path forward? Because these tariffs are another 50% is going to really hurt industries, they say.
And it layers on another layer of uncertainty on business and in our economy, which is always bad for business. Thank you so much, Ashley, for all your work tonight. We appreciate it. Now to Washington with Kate McKenna, who's been working just as hard every day this week. Kate, take us through what happened tonight and how this may have fallen apart.
Well, it was actually U.S. Trade Representative Jamieson Greer who broke the news. He said, in his view, the U.S. was offering Canada a very good deal, and that it was Canada that decided not to go ahead with finalizing that deal. He said that they were willing to offer some concessions to Canada. We, of course, have been reporting this throughout the week. They were willing to lower some sectoral tariffs. He said that they were willing to work together more on issues including energy. And he very much defended the offer that was on the table. Take a listen to what he said.
Canada declined to finalize the trade deal under the terms agreed earlier this week. Despite the U.S. offer to Canada to receive the best treatment of any major exporter to our market, new demands and walkbacks of other commitments by Canada have upended the careful balance reached in the past days.
So because no deal was reached, the Trump administration is making good on its threat to add a new set of 50% tariffs that are set to take effect immediately on about $27 billion of Canadian exports. So that ranges from cement to hockey sticks, and it's set to hit Ontario, Quebec, and British Columbia the hardest. That was the looming threat that sort of prompted the intensification of these trade talks. And the U.S. was threatening those tariffs to try to pressure Canada to put and the provinces specifically to put U.S. booze back on their shelves and drop other retaliatory measures. But we heard from Greer this evening, tonight, and he said that Canada plans to continue those retaliatory measures against the United States.
It certainly looks as if things could escalate from here, Kate.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, the retaliation from the Canadian side is something that we'll be watching very carefully. You know, I was in Iowa with Jamieson Greer a week ago now, I guess, and asked him what happens if Canada negotiates retaliates. And at the time he said he didn't think Canada would. Well, now we know Mark Carney says that they are going to retaliate dollar for this new set of tariffs. Is that going to kick off a tit for tat escalation? You know, these new tariffs are in response to Canadian retaliation. But Jamieson Greer at the time said that they would be willing to retaliate if they had to. And tonight we heard from a senior Trump administration official speaking on background who said it's up to Canada to choose to retaliate, but you know, escalation is a choice, and that their sole interest remains protecting American jobs. But we are in the context of looming midterms, and you know, tariffs are on the ballot for a number of people. Again, when I was in Iowa, I was speaking with farmers. They know that tariffs are driving the price of things up. Is this something that Canada is going to try to use when it determines what it is going to be putting counter tariffs on? Will they be trying to inflict the maximum amount of pain in states that could switch, that could see Trump lose Congress? We know that that's a strategy that Canada has used in the past when it was renegotiating CUSMA, because of course, ultimately, the Canadian economy is smaller than the American economy. But certainly, you know, at the outset, Carney said no deal is better than a bad deal for Canada, but we are here now and Canadian negotiators are set to leave Washington without a deal in their hands.
Restarting in some very uncharted territory. Thank you very much, Kate McKenna in Washington. Earlier tonight, U.S. Trade Representative Jamieson Greer spoke with reporters. He confirmed that the deal was off. We're going to play you what he said in full. Here's the listen.
Tonight, Canada declined to finalize the trade deal under the terms agreed earlier this week. Despite the U.S. offer to Canada to receive the best treatment of any major exporter to our market, new demands and walkbacks of other commitments by Canada have upended the careful balance reached in the past days. In addition, Canada is continuing to maintain its prolonged retaliation against the United States, including, among other things, flat-out prohibitions on certain American goods and services. For decades, Canada has enjoyed the most favorable access to the U.S. market of any country. And from the beginning of President Trump's trade program, Canada has continued to enjoy the best treatment in the world, even after, like China, retaliating against the United States. This week, the United States agreed to provide even better treatment to Canada, offering significant tariff reductions on steel, aluminum, autos, and lumber in exchange for other concessions from Canada. The U.S. offer was also forward-looking and included a historic economic and national security partnership to cooperate on export controls, combat transshipment, enhance digital trade, and align certain external tariffs. The offer would have led to supply chain coordination on aerospace, complementary actions to address unfair trade practices, critical minerals cooperation, increased enforcement against imports produced with forced labor, and the announcement of formal U.S.-Mexico-Canada agreement negotiations. This is a missed opportunity for Canada to partner with the United States, which is the fastest growing economy in the G7.
So that is the position from Jamieson Greer, who has been negotiating a potential trade deal with Canada. Canada sees it very differently, according to the Prime Minister, Mark Carney. He said that last-minute changes in the U.S. proposed terms were unfair, uneconomic, and called into question the reliability of any deal. He decided to break off talks, calling his negotiators, including Dominic LeBlanc, back to Ottawa. And at the moment, there is no plan yet to resume negotiations on the trade deal, and the 50% new tariffs imposed by President Trump are in force as we speak. All that happened within the last 2 hours, and we are following the breaking news as we get more response and reaction from Canadians. The National will be right back. Manitoba's premier is making a renewed case for the expansion of Canada's only deep-water Arctic port. And today, Wab Kinew said studies show year-round shipping potential from the Port of Churchill, partly because of declining sea ice. Karen Pauls visited that community last fall and found that the residents are divided over the potential impacts.
This is what most people visualize when they think of Churchill, fittingly known as the polar bear capital of the world.
This is incredible.
People also come to see beluga whales and watch the aurora borealis. Now, the Prime Minister is promoting the Port of Churchill for his list of nation-building projects.
A new port, effectively in Churchill, Manitoba, which would open up enormous LNG plus other opportunities.
Chris Avery is feeling optimistic.
So there has been some activity. We want more, but there has been a fair bit of activity already, and it's growing.
He heads the group that owns the port and the railway, made up of 29 First Nations and 12 northern Manitoba communities.
The economic benefits of what we do will go back to the communities. It doesn't go back to Bay Street or Wall Street. All right, I'll let you get back to work.
The Churchill Plus proposal, worth billions, would upgrade Canada's only deep-water Arctic port and the rail line connecting it to the rest of the country, expand ice-breaking capacity, maybe even include oil and LNG pipelines, aiming to become a vital link between Canada and emerging Arctic shipping routes.
We're proud to be able to be part of our national solutions for our national goals, which is to diversify our trade, particularly away from the U.S., to become a global energy superpower, and also to assert our sovereignty in the north.
But is it viable? Research shows Hudson Bay has warmed more than 1 degree Celsius in the last 40 years. That means every year there's one more day of ice-free water. In this part of the bay, it's now ice-free almost 5 months. In 75 years, researchers predict ships will be able to sail from here all the way through the Hudson Strait to the Atlantic Ocean, most of the year without the support of icebreakers.
The opportunities for social, economic, industrial development is just absolutely unprecedented. But the challenges are enormous.
The University of Manitoba built this Churchill Marine Observatory to study climate change in the north, how it's affecting sea ice, the permafrost beneath the railway, the environment, and the animals, as well the impacts of more commercial shipping.
We had the first oil spill experiment here. We studied the capacity of natural microorganisms in degrading this oil. There will be risk, there will be impact, and that's why we need to develop this knowledge to make sure we reduce that impact to the minimum.
Talk to almost anyone here, and you'll hear concerns the port expansion would jeopardize a way of life, tourism, and the animals that live here.
Oh, there's tons of them just swimming down the river now. You'll see some white backs come up.
Erin Green owns Sup North, a paddleboard tour company. She spends a lot of time on the water amongst thousands of beluga whales.
It's an incredibly special place for them. It is their safety. They come here to give birth. They play here, they eat here, they socialize. This is their home and where they feel safe. We're putting that sense of safety in jeopardy. We're putting their population in jeopardy.
She's worried the sound from construction and more ships at the Port of Churchill will harm the whales.
Their entire world is sound. They communicate with sound. They see with sound. When you bring in big ships like that, you completely mask their ability to see.
Green doesn't think the whales or most Churchill residents have had a voice in this discussion.
I feel like it will obliterate everything that is special and beautiful about this place.
David Daly takes tourists out on sled dog rides all year round, showing them the beauty of this place.
Let's go now. Come on now. Let's go.
He says Churchill has been reinventing itself ever since the Danes arrived in 1619, looking for the Northwest Passage. Daly says there were times when Churchill had up to 6,000 residents, some with the military, others working at the port.
And when I was growing up here in the 60s and the 70s, there was ships lined up in the bay to come in. The port operated 24 hours around the clock. You'd watch B-52 bombers taking off and landing. There was people training from all around the world for Arctic combat, watching the skies for the Russians to invade.
Now, maybe 800 people live here year-round. Most work in tourism, but those who don't have few options. Daly sees the benefits of more economic development.
Yeah, we hope better jobs for our kids, better jobs for our grandkids in the future.
But he also worries more commercial shipping could impact tourism, and he hopes there will be more consultation.
Tourism has saved Churchill. I think the people that have the tourism relationship here in town I think that they're a little apprehensive about, like, is this going to be rammed down our throats?
The goal is to find a balance in this.
Churchill's mayor, Mike Spence, says that this proposal could generate up to $1 billion in economic activity. But he knows that brings risks and responsibilities.
As Indigenous people, we're stewards of the land. You know, we need to respect what the Creator has asked us to watch over.
Balancing the environment and economic development on the land and in the sea.
Recapping our breaking news tonight, no deal. In the hour before the midnight deadline, talks in Washington on the trade deal broke down. The Prime Minister, Mark Carney, called the Canadian negotiators back to Ottawa, saying that he will retaliate dollar for new 50% tariffs that are now in effect on $28 billion worth of Canadian goods. That's our breaking news. And for all of us here at The National, thank you for being with us. Enjoy your summer weekend. I'm Susan Ormiston. Take care.